Blog Talk Radio.
Aloha, everybody. This is Jennifer. Welcome back to Spirit Talk Radio. Today we are covering what I think is a very interesting topic, and I'm actually surprised that so many people were as interested in this as they should be. What sparked this entire negative entities and addiction subject was actually from someone that was in my soulmate circle, and I'm going to read you the little post just in case that you're just tuning in and you're not a member of the circle. It said, "Hi, Jennifer. I'm curious to know more about negative entities that attach themselves to people weakened by addictions. What are they? What do they have to gain from this? How can they be distinguished from ordinary negativity associated with drug and alcohol abuse? What can be done about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts." Now, this is a really great topic, and so I'm going to start out by explaining the basics of trying to explain this a little bit more to you. There are negative entities that do attach themselves to people who are weakened by addiction, and people are having a hard time understanding, okay, why do they do that? Who are the entities? What's happening? And before you get totally freaked out, okay, guys, and some days these allergies will go away, I swear. It's better today. Anyways, these negative entities, you have to look at it like this. There's always been a balance in the universe. There have always been and always will be light energies, and there always will be dark energies. Now, the dark side always wants to take over the light side. This has happened from just the beginning of time. It will continue to happen. It's just not going to change. So how I tell people, and it's kind of funny, but it's actually really true, is you want to imagine it like Star Wars. It's very weird, but it's true. The dark is constantly trying to take over the light, and the light is just constantly trying to raise vibration or keep the dark in check. So in order to try to take over the light, the dark energies and entities will try and recruit light energies in order to do so. So because white light vibrations, light energies, white light people, they can be very, very hard to take over. So what they do is they prey on people of lower vibrations, and they have a very precise agenda when they're doing this. Like I said, as they take over lower vibrations, they are trying to become more powerful. Well, who are the lower vibrations people? They are people who are sad or unhappy or depressed, and or people who are weakened by addictions. So that they naturally try to go after those people first. Now, here's the interesting thing. I know this show is labeled negative entities and addictions, but I really want to make clear you do not have to be addicted in any shape or form to alcohol or drugs or any of that kind of thing in order for this to happen. So, for instance, let's just say that, and it doesn't mean stop drinking alcohol or, drugs aren't best for you. But, I'm not telling everybody who's listening to the show to stop drinking alcohol. The reason I'm doing the show is because I am doing it for people who need to know more about the addiction. But if you do drink alcohol or you drink it, 3 times a week or whatever, even if you drink it once in a month, it doesn't matter. If you're noticing something happening during that time, in and around that time, where it's not a feel-good feeling, and it's not something where you're, feeling happy, or events around you or people around you, like there's something that's feeling like not awesome around that time frame, it's something that you want to be aware of. I'm going to cover some things about like how to rid this, but it's shocking to me how many people don't realize, like, for instance, a lot of people I think they're just feeling crappy and whatnot. They all relate it to hangovers. I drank too much, I feel really crappy, and so they all relate it to hangovers, and they think that that's why they're feeling so I'm going to watch my language, so crappy the next day or following into the next week or whatever. And you have to think twice about that, because that is not always the case. Maybe a hangover, but it's not always the case. And let me clarify this on the drugs part, because I actually find this very interesting. When I in or around people who are drinking, I have a really hard time being around people who are drinking, a really hard time being around them. In fact, so much so I hardly ever drink myself, and I know tons of people that drink. But what I noticed over the years is because of all these negative entities that do attach to these people, this is why I didn't realize this at first, but as I got older and started being able to read into people's energy better, I started realizing that they have all these negative entities that attach them during the time that they're drinking. And that's something that just doesn't sit very well with me. I don't like the way it feels. I don't like to be around them. I can very much feel the negative energy sort of clinging to them, kind of like dust bunnies, I guess I would say. They just sort of cling on to your energy field. They get right up in your bubble. And so I don't like that. Now, on the drugs part, I want to be a little bit more clear on the drugs part, because this is something I find fascinating. I find it almost always with alcohol and most always with almost all different types of drugs. But for some reason, I do not notice this happening when people smoke weed or marijuana, or whatever you want to say. I don't know exactly why that is, but they don't seem to have the negative spirits attaching to them in the same way. So for some reason, and it may be because it's a natural plant coming from the earth, just like we consume food. Most all other things have to go through some sort of process. Most drugs go through some sort of process. Alcohol goes through as a process. And so that may be the difference. I don't know, but I just wanted to clarify that because I find that really fascinatingly strange. And so why does this happen? When you drink alcohol and when you take drugs, the negative entities can see a crack. Like, let's say you're a high white light entity, or let's say that I was drinking or whatever. And, I'm not immune to this. I don't care how high your vibration is. It's something that you want to be aware of. They will see a crack that they can get in. They can get in and attach themselves to your energy field. And so that is right when they will swoop in. And like I said, it doesn't matter if it's one time or if you're just flat out addicted. They will see a crack and they will swoop in and they will try to then alter your thought pattern or behavior and try to get in to bring you kind of over to the dark side. I have a lot of questions that were on my Soulmate Circle events page. I do want to let you guys know that did post questions. I don't know why this happened, probably because we're talking about negative entities and weirder things have happened, but I know that there was more questions in here above Thelma, and for some reason they're not there anymore, so I can't get to them. Sorry, I just can't see them. So anyways, one of the people in here was asking me about seeing a dark shadow in a hotel room, jumping over their bed, trying to shock them with the hands, and that sort of thing, and they woke up and nothing was there. Next day I woke up and asked the girl at the front desk if anyone was staying in that room. They said Kate Blanchett had used it to get ready for the Oscars, but it was very scary that had happened. Now, I do want to point out that there can be a difference between like haunted room or a spirit that is I guess, would, kind of hanging out in that room, sort of earthbound. But that sort of event will happen often to people who have been drinking the night before or have been drinking and or taking some type of drugs or medication, because these are the types of things that there are so many stories about people. I know somebody in particular that not very long ago had taken some type of drug or whatever, and it was a week later, and then they'd been drinking that week. They weren't addicted, but they were just doing whatever. And later that week, they actually, during that slight dream state, felt like that they were being attacked and that there was a spirit on top of them and that they were trying to get in their body. The way that you actually recognize this is because when you're doing drugs or drinking, and people don't realize this also, you lower your inhibitions to all the physical laws. And so what does that mean? Well, when you lower your inhibitions to all the physical laws, you actually are way open to being able to shift in the spiritual dimension a little bit. Like it becomes more of a possibility or more of a reality. And so you start to view things around you differently. You can actually shift dimensions a lot more easy. Now, that does not mean that I think any of you should go and, drink or take drugs to do this, because that's like the worst way possible, because like I said, you're going into the Death Star from Star Wars if you're doing that. But it can happen. It lowers it, and you begin to see things, and it can be extremely, extremely scary. So I'm going to keep going down these questions that I have from people, because I really do want to get through the questions that you guys have given me. Can they manifest into your dreams or child's dreams? How do you protect your child? And how do you deal with living with people who give in to dark entities, not on purpose, but just because they gave up on the fight? Okay. They can manifest into your dreams. Everybody needs to understand a little bit more about dreams. Your dream state is not exactly it's not a non-important existence of your life like cartoons. Like, I swear, people think of dreams like they're just like this something that happens that doesn't seem like reality, and everybody accepts dreams as non-important. Your dream state is when you're actually connecting with the spiritual world. That's when you're shifting dimensions. That's when your brain shuts down, and it naturally allows your spiritual body to connect in and vibrate and actually shift dimensions. So absolutely, they can and will manifest into a dream state, because that is when they can get to you. That's their connection. That's their phone line in, is when you're in a dream state. They can manifest in child's dreams, but this show is about addiction, and so obviously your children are not addicted. Children can do the white light bubble thing, which I will talk to you about at the end of the episode, because I'm going to explain a few more things of how they can get to you. This could be a really long show, but I don't have that much time. So how do you deal with living with people who have given to dark entities not on purpose, or just because they've given up on the fight? You're not going to like the answer to this at all. You don't. You have to make a choice at that point. You either move out or separate your relationship from that person, or you spend as little time as you can with that person. The thing is if somebody is susceptible to dark entities and they are living in your home and they have given up the fight or whatever, and they just have succumbed to negative entities, because you're living in the same space and living in the same home, it is going to affect your life. So you're going to have to reevaluate at that point, is this affecting my life enough to where, I should stay or that I should go or whatever? But you're really going to have to realize it's almost like you're guilty by association. If you continue to stay in a house like that, they will continue to try to latch onto you, affect your world, and really kind of get in your space. So you're kind of not in a good situation when that happens. Are they allowed to control your conscious mind? If psychological and psychiatric medications keep you stable but are addictive, does that mean we're doomed to ditch demons? What are these entities, etc.? Here's what they do. Here's one of the, not only do they attach themselves to the entities attach themselves to your body like dust bunnies or whatever. I kind of like that, because they really cling into your energy field. Let me start explaining to how that actually affects the world around you. When they cling on to you, they can do a couple of different things. One is they affect the energy of people around you and who you're dealing with. So you would start noticing they will affect your mood. It will start affecting your mood to where you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling sad, you're feeling upset, you're feeling anxious. Like, it will start to feel, you may start to feel all these things. Here's an interesting thing. The way that when they merge with your energy field and start getting you kind of feeling sad and all that kind of stuff, or depressed or whatever, you will have a hard time telling the difference unless you're trained to do so. You'll have a hard time telling the difference between, is it them that is kind of feeding this to me, or is it me that's feeding this to me? Like, who is giving me this sad thought process and whatnot? And here's the interesting thing. In my experience, I would say over 90% of that sad, depressed type feeling is really being fed to you through negative type entities. And I'm going to explain this a little bit more. Could be such a long show. Okay, so one of the other ways that they get you. And then of course people around you. So like if you go to the grocery store, if you come home to your spouse or whatever, the vibe that you give off if you have one of these attached to you is no longer a happy, like a positive energy vibe. You will give off a negative energy vibe without even trying. You can be smiley, have a good day, you feel like or like feeling like you're not giving off a negative vibe, and somebody might say, what's up with you? Or why would you do that? Or why would you say that? And it would be weird, and it may be weird to you because you maybe weren't trying to be condescending or trying to be any way but nice, and they may view you as completely a different person. And so that's also a way that they affect other people, because the vibe that you're giving off, it kind of blankets any positive vibe and starts to give off a negative vibe to people around you. One of the worst ways that they get to you, and is it possible for them allowed to control your conscious mind? Okay. In rare instances, yes, it is. I would not, this gets into more advanced stuff. I don't want anybody that's on the radio show to worry about this, because in my experience, this rarely happens. I myself have probably seen it happen 2, maybe 3 times out of the hundreds of thousands of people I've run into in my life. So that's how rare it is. It's very, very rare. But what they do is they do put thoughts into your head. So people don't realize they walk around all the time thinking that their thoughts are their own thoughts all the time. You're very susceptible to what I call thought implants, because that's how we're built. That we are always tuned into an outside radar. Okay, so what's happening is everybody thinks that they're walking around, and any idea that pops into their head, any thought that they have in their head, is just something that they've come up with on their own. A lot of people walk around just thinking, oh, I came up with this great idea, or I decided to do this, or I decided to do that. What you don't realize is you're constantly walking around tuned into a radio station, basically. You're tuned in consistently. It never shuts off. Even for people who would think that they are blocked, you're constantly tuned into this radio station where messages can come through. When they come through, however, they come through as blocks of thought. So when they come through as blocks of thought, you will actually hear them in your own head, or think that it's something that you're making up in your own head, or it's something that you came up with, or you're hearing it. You'll think it's your own internal dialogue. That's what I'm trying to say. This internal dialogue that's going around in most everybody's head is more often than not your thought process. It's you being tuned into a radio or a station from the other side. And this is the way but this is a good thing too, this is not a bad thing. Nobody should freak out. This is a really incredible, wonderful, good thing, because that's just how your spirit guides get to you. This is how you get lots of great information from the other side. This is how you get guidance from really positive, wonderful entities, is through this line of communication that's open all the time, the one that you think is your internal dialogue. So the bad part about that is this is also how negative spirits can get in and say, you're not good enough, your life is crappy, your life sucks, you're fat, you're ugly, you'll never amount to anything. A lot of people think that is, something from when they grew up, or, they don't know why they have low self-esteem. And yes, it can be caused by different things of when you grow up. But also, if your vibration is low, it can and will be caused by negative entities who are trying to get you to stay a lower vibration. That is the main goal for all of this. The main goal for them trying to get in and be possessive, them trying to scare you in your dream state, them trying to get into your internal dialogue and explain to you how crappy your life is and how horrible of a person that you are. Their main goal is 100% to keep your vibration down. to keep it low, to not allow your vibration to raise, to not allow you to stay a positive force in this world. That is their main goal. The lower that they can keep their vibration, I'm frustrated, I'm upset, I'm having a hard time, they win. That's them winning all over the place. And so that's how they begin to take control. That's how they begin to shift the vibration. That's how they begin to become more powerful. It's craziness. Now, I will be getting to some of the things that you can do about this in a minute, but I just want everybody to have an understanding of, and I want to get to these questions really quickly. So the possession thing. I don't know. You guys love to hear about this stuff. I'm going to tell you a little bit of the story about that really quickly, but do keep in mind when a spirit does merge with somebody and they do, because I'm also a natural channel, so I know exactly what it feels like when a spirit merges with me and speaks through me, and it's very strange. You guys would probably find that quite interesting. But you can go out of your body when they merge in with you, but most of the time it's like both of you are kind of in your body somewhat. So can they, like, let's say a person sitting across from you, can they be possessed in a sense? Yes, they can absolutely be possessed. One of the things that I usually notice, and one of the things that really keyed me off the first time, and honest to God, guys, if I would not have seen this myself, I swear to God, I almost wouldn't have believed this was true. It was so shocking to me when the first time I ever seen this, it blew my mind. I couldn't even believe that this was happening. And I'm a natural channel, but one of the times that I had watched this happen, and they usually don't stay in for long periods of time, mind you. They will only come in for very short spurts. If you're dealing with somebody who does have that type of negative entity sort of speaking through them at the minute, their eyes turn. Their eyes almost become black. It is the weirdest thing. It is something that you will never not know is happening, because it is something that you'll almost be shocked that you're seeing with your own eyes. It's like a sci-fi movie. It's very strange. The color of their eyes and their pupils will almost turn completely black. They will turn the same color. And when a true negative entity is sort of possessing somebody, now they can't and won't do it without permission. They can't do it without permission. So these people have to either be somewhat open to negative entities, and which the person who I actually seen this happen to played around with a lot of things where they were open to the negative side, and all they wanted to do was have more power in the metaphysical world. So it didn't matter to them, or they weren't separating between light and dark, so they were very open to it. Or they're just a negative vibe person. They are, happy with their addiction, and they think that they feed off that. People don't realize that people who have addictions will actually feed off that vibration and that energy. And for the person who said, what do I do? What do I do about somebody who I'm living with that has given into the dark side? You guys don't even totally understand that when a negative entity attaches themselves to somebody, there is a type of rush or feeling that they can get from a negative entity. And if they are lacking nurturing their own spiritual body and they have nothing else going on in their life for them, where they're feeling positive and they're feeling like really good about what's happening in their life, they don't have anywhere else that they're getting some type of excitement feeling from. Sometimes those people who drink or do drugs or maybe are addicted, they become addicted to that rush, to that feeling, to that negativity, that vibe that the negativity brings in. They actually enjoy it. It makes them feel alive. It's very strange. Those of you who have been addicted and who have been, had pills or alcohol or whatever type of drugs that you take in your life, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You may feel bad about it and you may feel like crap about it, because as you get blocks of thought from any negative entity that's attached themselves to you, that's their purpose. They want to keep you in that low, feeling like you're self-loathing type of environment, because that's how you keep your vibration low. And then that addiction that you get to their energy, that negative energy that comes in, that is very addicting to some people, not everybody. but to me, it makes me not feel well. It makes me feel sick, my stomach. It makes me feel edgy. It makes me feel angry. I don't like it. But to other people, they enjoy it, and then they get roped into the addiction. So I have another question here about somebody whose father was shot and died, and they never met them, and they were abusive towards their mom and drug and alcohol issues, and then they became addicted themselves. I'm kind of just skimming through this. I believed I was communicating with spirit through other people who had the same or similar name as him. He kept telling me to party, have a good time, but also wanted me to die so I could be with him. Do you think it was really him, an evil spirit, or my drug-induced state and brain making this my reality at the time? Would someone who has passed over want to harm us or come to us to actually have us die and be with them? It's very disturbing. Okay, this was not your father, just so that you know. People who die and or pass over, even if they are drug and alcohol addicted, 9 times out of 10 or more, they actually turn back into the white light, and they live their life on the other side in their natural state of existence. They live their life as a white light entity. They live their life in a more positive state. They release it from being here, and then they move on. So more often than not, that happens. But there are what we call gray or dark entities that never stay when they get into when they pass on or get into their natural state, their spiritual state. They don't stay in the same place as everybody else with a positive white light. I mean, call it heaven if you want to, but there's a different place and dimensions where the white lights congregate, and then there's also the gray or dark entities do not congregate in that area. They don't like it. It's too powerful for them. So they stay actually lower ground, and by lower ground, they actually stay a lot near Earth. And so that's why the whole struggle here is real. I mean, the struggle is real because you're not just dealing with, physical things that we're going through and learning and growing from. We're actually battling against the negative entities trying to turn us, and how powerful are we? How powerful can we know ourselves? How powerfully can we be? And the key there is to really just awareness. Awareness has been the key. So I'm going to get into things that you can do and how that we don't let this affect us. But yes, that was not your father. I believe it was both. I believe it was your drug-induced state, and I also believe it was evil or dark entities trying to get to you, because that's what they do. The reason that you're susceptible to it, again, is what I said before, because you're in a drug and alcohol-induced state. When you're susceptible at that time, here's another interesting thing, is you can merge with their feelings in a sense. And so they can merge with you in a way that you start thinking all these thoughts are your own, or all these actions are your own, and they can actually merge with you, and you take their thoughts and feelings on as your own. So it was both. It was negative entities, and it was your drug-induced state. So you're in a weakened state, by the way, when you get into a drug-induced or alcohol-induced state. You're in a weakened state. Your protection goes down. You're not as powerfully connected into your spiritual body. You don't hold the spiritual power that you do when you're in a sober state. It's night and day. Those of you who are listening live, I'm sorry you're going to be cut off real soon, but I'm going to keep talking so you can go back and listen to the archives, because I got to get to the rest of the stuff. Unfortunately, Blog Talk Radio only lets me do half-hour shows that way right now. So when you're in that state, like I said, you're in a very vulnerable situation. And not that I'm telling you, again, not to go drink or anything. Just be aware of it. Just be aware of what's happening. So what do we do about it? Awareness is number one. You want to realize that if you're starting to if you have a thought processes that go through your head about you being a failure, you being no good, you having just really a crappy life, you being angry, unless actually, that's not even true. Most of the time, that is negative entities around you trying to implant and really bring your vibration down. And so that is one thing, awareness. If you're staying in a mostly negative, angry, tight state or frustrated or crappy state, it's either, number one, the people that you're hanging around that are bringing negative vibes into you, or it's you. You actually have collected these negative entities around you, and they're kind of clinging to your energy field. So you have to be really aware. The first thing you have to do is be really aware of, is it alcohol, drug induced? If it is, how much are you doing it? Is it one time? Is it always? Are you like this when you're not drinking alcohol or taking drugs? Because if it's sticking with you, then you have to do some rearranging of everything. Number two, how are the people around you? Are the people around you of negative vibe? Are they of, the world sucks and it's so hard to get ahead and I can't really do anything and you're never going to? Are these who you're surrounded by? Because even if you clean up your own thought process and clean up your own energy vibe, if you continue to be bombarded or surrounded with people like that, it's going to be very difficult for you, very difficult, because these negative entities are always going to be searching for a crack. They're going to be searching for a way to get a train of thought into your head that really is the negative vibe. They're going to be searching for a way to bring your vibration down. So that's one thing. So you really need to make a solid commitment to changing your life, or the people that are negative or are addicted, or if you're experiencing any negative entities around you. You need to make a commitment to change your life and understand what you're doing is not working for you, because that's not how it's supposed to be. So I also, by the way, have a blog post on some of this stuff. If you want to go to hawaiihealings.com, you need to do what's called a spiritual evaluation. And so a spiritual evaluation is, you want to start, this is for the ones I did for drug-addicted people. Start by asking yourself, what are the top 3 things that are causing me to be unhappy at this moment? And you want to write them down. You also want to redefine what's on the list to become more spiritually aware. So in other words, there cannot be a who on the list. So you can't say, my mother is making me unhappy because she criticizes me all the time. You have to redefine your answers to, my choices to continue to call my mother is making me unhappy. So the second thing the third thing that you're wanting to do is make it a commitment to changing your life. So you have to do a spiritual evaluation, and you want to do what I feel like is kind of an environmental evaluation. Who is in your life? Are they positive and negative, and how often are you with these people? Because you want to be very careful about anybody who's negative in nature. You want to cut your time with them by 75%. If you are writing anything down, write that down. You want to cut your time with anybody who is in your life that affects it negatively by 75%. You don't be calling them. Don't be going to lunch with them. If you have to make new friends, do that. I don't even care. The second thing, so what I'm having you do here is I'm having you evaluate from the exterior and evaluate from the interior. The second thing, or the next thing you want to do is the spiritual evaluation. So you want to start trying to define, what are you unhappy about? What are the top 3 things? And then you want to start taking responsibility for choices that you made. Because as you begin to become self-aware while we're doing this process, that becomes very powerful. And when you start realizing that the choices that you've made have gotten you to where you're at in this lifetime, that is also very powerful. Did you make good choices and you're very powerful in that manner? Great. Did you make crappy choices or bad choices and you're feeling vulnerable and upset and like your life needs to change? Then it is time to figure out what choices that you made, because the only person that can do anything for you in your life is you. You're with yourself 100% of the time, 365 days a year. And the choices that you make add to your life and your surroundings. So what choices did you bring to bring negativity into your life, to bring your vibration down? Because remember, we're trying to strengthen your vibration. We're trying to get your vibration higher. And in order to raise your vibration, you have to do clearings, which I will get to in a second. And you will have to, or I will probably get that to last. And you will have to clear out your space physically, but you're also wanting to clear out your space mentally. So you want to start deciding what it is that, is making you unhappy. So what most people do is they stop denying, or what you need to do is to stop denying yourself happiness. That's what most people do. They just deny themselves happiness. Things aren't possible. I need to do this for the kids, my husband, my mother, my brother, whoever it is. They choose to constantly make choices that make them unhappy. And that is the worst thing for bringing your vibration down. So you want to check your drugs and alcohol and how much you're taking and how it's affecting your life. You want to take a self-evaluation, figure out what 3 things are causing you the worst pain or like the worst feeling upset. You want to stop denying yourself happiness and start choosing happiness. And stop denying yourself happiness because you're sacrificing your Saturday to go do something that your spouse wants to do or your kids need to do. Of course, you want to appropriate time. You want to give everybody appropriate time and love. But when people do that, a lot of times they forget themselves. They don't feel like themselves should be included in this time or love. And so they sacrifice until their battery is run so low and their vibration is so low that you're actually very susceptible to negative entities. You want to relearn how the world works energetically. You want to understand that the spiritual world also and the poverty mindset, the negative thoughts, trains of thought, that you're constantly, even though that you may not realize it, you're constantly on a radio feed to the spirit world. You're constantly on a radio feed to other entities that are programming your mind. They're programming Now, do you have to listen to any of these, whether they be negative or positive? No. You can totally ignore them, and that's your free will, and that's why you shouldn't be scared. You can totally ignore every single thing that comes through on this line of communication that you're always attached to. But here's the interesting thing. Even if a lot of times if people start communicating with their spirit guide and they start actually raising their vibration and good things start coming through, it's funny how people will just second guess it and just blow it off and go, yep, that's not happening. Nope, my life's not getting better. This isn't like me. My life's been crappy and weird. And, they will blow a positive thought and a positive line of communication from the spirit world off just as fast as the next guy. Now, people seem to believe negative lines of communication from the spirit world, like without anything. They just believe it like it's true. This is how the world operates. Absolutely. They're convinced. If it's a negative line of communication coming through on that line, they're convinced 100% that it's real. And that is very strange to me. But so understand that you do have a constant line. You have a constant radio and a train of thought coming through. So if your vibration's down, most likely you're going to have a negative train of thought coming through all the time. If your vibration's high, you're going to see a lot more positivity coming through. So you have to make sure that you do everything you can to keep your vibration high. Therefore, that jibber jabber of negativity will begin to lower and lower and lower. So and then the other thing was the break free of others with lower vibration. So I'm also going to explain really quickly about a clearing because I am about out of time here. But I do want you guys to remember one other thing. Let's say that you've been a lower entity, or not lower entity, of lower vibration for a really long time, or you're just a high vibration person. If you, no matter if you're high vibration or low vibration, if you begin to raise your vibration higher than it naturally is, do not be shocked that you will be targeted hardcore by negative entities. So if you are raising because you're struggling, you're coming out of addiction, so you're raising your vibration. You maybe were surrounded by people who are addicted, so you're raising your vibration. Maybe you're not even addicted, but you drink every once in a while, and now you realize from the show, this isn't serving me really well, so I want to stop doing that so much, and I want to be more aware, and I want to raise my vibration. Or you're just a high vibration entity. Like for me, when I'm naturally high vibration most all the time, and when I begin to write books, my vibration skyrockets. It just goes way high. And I'll tell you what, guys, when you really know, if you're on a good path and going a good direction, you will know when your vibration's raising because you will be cornered and blasted from every direction from negative entities. They will be trying to come into your dream state. They will be trying to attach themselves to people around you. They will be trying to cause havoc with electronics. They will be trying to make you second guess yourself. My whole family and staff has been told of this. They're aware that when I begin to write, they want to check themselves in their own vibration and make sure that if things are starting to go bad, that maybe they realize that there's negative things trying to attach to them. And so that gets me to my last thing, clearing. You always want to do a clearing all the time. I would suggest doing it every day. You definitely want to do it if you're drinking or around people who are drinking or doing drugs. Or if you're around or if you're raising your vibration, you want to do it because then you're just really targeted. Because I swear to God, we go out onto like a high alert. They're raising their vibration. Get over there, knock it down. They don't like that. So you want to do a white light clearing when you do a meditation. You want to imagine a white light coming through, very strong and powerful, coming down from above. You want to imagine it coming around you and just washing you. You want to see it come down your whole energetic being and almost like washing you like a shower, okay? So you want to feel that white light come down like you're standing in a shower. If you're doing a meditation, you can be sitting, you can be laying down, whatever. But shower around you until you can feel it just run clean. And then you want to bubble yourself. You want to wrap a bubble around you and just allow that shower of white light to come in until it's in there really strong. And you want to continue to pour that in. Then you will want to shower your house and anybody who's in it. So when I'm writing books, the next thing that I do is I go through every individual in my house and I run a white light shower through them. I bubble them till their bubble's full, and then I start from the ground. When you're doing your house, you imagine it from the ground up. So you imagine that there's like a blanket or something under your house, and then it blows up like a balloon and just shoots everything out of your house. So you just push this bubble open, and then you imagine your house is domed. And then you allow the shower to come in and fill that dome with white light energy. You want to do that for sure on anybody and anyone that's around you. The other thing that you want to do, which I've had to do because the clearing, for people who are coming in and out of your house, you want to, what I call web your door. So when you do any of these things, you want to imagine white strings, white lights, and you want to ask your angels or your guides or whatever to help you when you're doing a meditation, and you basically want to web your door. You want to let the strings run across, back, sideways, all around your door, right where people walk through. So it looks like a dream catcher. And after you web your door and you ask them to keep all, white or negative entities out of your house, when they come through that web, they should actually not be there attached to those people. They should keep them. That actually helps quite a bit. And then there's the same thing where you're burning incense. I would burn incense or sandalwood, sage, any of those things at night, because that's when you're susceptible in the dream state. So you want to actually do that right before you go to bed. It clears out your room and it does that sort of thing. So do it where you're sleeping, or you can do it through your house, but I like to do it where I'm sleeping. So I'm running out of time here, but you want to do the clearing definitely as you're raising your vibration. You know what, you guys, you should just be doing the clearing all the time. It should be like taking vitamins. You should just be doing it all the time. But do be aware of what alcohol and drugs do and how they leave you open. If you're aware, you become more powerful. You become more powerful just in the fact that you're aware, and then you can just be like, I'm not giving into that negative train of thought. I'm not dealing with this right now. I know that I'm stronger than you. When you become aware, they can't be sneaky because these negative entities are sneaky. They want to slip one by you and want you to think it's you having these thought processes. So sorry to cut you guys short, but I'm getting to the end of my radio show. So anyways, join me next week. We have a really good show coming up. We have a couple of good shows. I'll be scheduling those out soon. Tuesday, 9 a.m. Hawaii time. Also, if you would like a reading or would like any more information, you can go to hawaiihealing.com. I hope you enjoyed the show and have a wonderful week. Until next time, guys, have a great day. Aloha.
It can get lonely climbing Mount McKinley, so to entertain myself, I go to ChumbaCasino.com. At Chumba Casino, I can play hundreds of online casino-style games for free, like online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Plus, I get a daily login bonus. It's just too bad that up here, I don't have anyone to share my excitement with. Woohoo! Woohoo!
Live the Chumba life. Anytime, anywhere. Play for free now at ChumbaCasino.com. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Black Friday is coming, and for the adults in your life who love the coolest toys, well, there's something for them this year, too. Bartesian is the premier craft cocktail maker that automatically makes more than 60 seasonal and classic cocktails, each in under 30 seconds at the push of a button. And right now, Bartesian is having a huge site-wide sale. You can get $100 off any cocktail maker or cocktail maker bundle when you spend $400 or more. So, if the cocktail lover in your life has been good this year, or the right kind of bad, get them Bartesian. At the push of a button, make bar-quality cosmopolitans, martinis, Manhattans, and more. All in just 30 seconds. All for $100 off. Amazing toys aren't just for kids. Get $100 off a cocktail maker when you spend $400 through Cyber Monday. Visit Bartesian.com/cocktail. That's BARTESIAN.com/cocktail.